Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily Special NBA Finals Edition for June 14th, 2025. I'm Dave DuFour here with Andrew Schlecht. Coming up, the Thunder win one that we thought they were going to lose, and the series is now tied 2 games apiece. And I'm going to talk to Samson Folk after the break about what happened to the Pacers and how they collapsed in the fourth quarter. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Andrew. Saying that for real because it's real late in Oklahoma City. How about those Thunder? The Thunder pull a little Pacers and have a comeback win in a game, Andrew, that I thought they were definitely going to lose, and I thought the finals were done. How about that? They pulled one out. That was a championship sort of win. That's one that you hang your hat on.
Yeah. I mean, the way that they closed that game, it didn't look anything like the rest of the game at all.
No.
Because if you watch that game, the Pacers owned it. They owned that game up until really the last 3 minutes of it. And the Thunder just went on what felt like an improbable run. So from the 2:58 mark until the end of the game, the Thunder went on a 12-1 run where the Pacers missed all 5 of their field goals. And the 1 point was a Ben Mathurin free throw in which he missed all the other ones.
The other 3.
Yep. Shai went 6 of 6 from the free throw line and scored 11 points. He scored 11 of the 12 points for OKC in that stretch run. And Dort had the other point, which he split the free throws, and they both just these moon balls from the free throw line. It's just like, I don't know. I didn't expect any of them to go in. But just an incredible performance, from the Thunder in this one, where they did. I feel like this was the inverse of game 1,
right,
in the finals, where the Thunder owned game 1. The Pacers owned this game, but they just hung around. Like the game's, it's 7 when it felt like it should be 27.
Yeah,
and in those kind of games, teams that just give themselves a shot to like hang around. Like maybe you can put something together. And the biggest adjustment, and you sent me John Schumann's stat about this if you want to read it, but like that was like the adjustment that just flipped everything for OKC down the stretch.
Yeah. In this series so far, the number of screens that Shai and Jalen Williams, J-Dub, have set for each other. Game 1, 1 screen. Game 2, 2 screens. Game 3, 0 screens. Game 4, 9. 7 of those in the fourth quarter. And look, we know this. It's basketball. If you get your 2 best players involved in actions together, whatever the actions, DHO, regular screens. I mean, you can do a pass and cut, a give and go, whatever you want to do. You put your 2 best players in action with the ball, and you're going to get good things. And I mean, we're all going to say, "Well, what took you so long, Mark?" I mean, this is the most that they've had in the past 3 seasons together, and it came to a certain degree in desperation. I mean, this was a quarter that they played for the finals. I mean, it's just unlikely they come back from 3-1. I mean, the Pacers are a pretty good basketball team, and that is a statistical fluke anyway when a team comes back from 3-1. So the quarter for the season, they go to this, and it's extremely successful. I mean, I know you're not surprised.
Yeah, I think a lot of this stuff isn't rocket science.
Right.
It's like, let's just use our 2 best players and play them off each other. And the one thing they kind of discovered, and it's something that they've known throughout this series with them, is that Shai's just way more comfortable with Nesmith on him than he is with Nembhard on him. Yeah. Nembhard did a great job. He was just an absolute monster. But I think the one play that I think gave Thunder fans like the most hope was the shot that started that 12-1 run. It was the 2-man game of Shai and J-Dub. They get the switch onto Nembhard or onto Nesmith, and Nembhard doubles over to Shai. Shai throws to J-Dub, which everybody flies out to Dub, and Dub drives just a few feet inside the 3-point line and just throws out to Shai, who takes an open 3 and cans it. And like that was like one of the first moments where like, they actually like ran something. There's an assist, which the Thunder had 10 of.
Yeah.
You know how many times the Thunder had 10 or less assists in this season?
What,
0 times?
0, right? Yeah, I was going to say.
Didn't happen. 16 was the least amount that they had all regular season. 13 is the least amount they've had, and it was against the Pacers. So the Pacers deserve a ton of credit for that. Like, this isn't just the Thunder missing shots. It's the Thunder not being able to get into actions because they basically get into their half court sets with the shot clock at like 14 because they're getting pressured so much. And so that to me is a huge reason why Thunder have slowed down. But I do think that they started to figure something out, down the stretch of this one with Shai and Dub, and can we just work a little bit where it's not isolation basketball? Because I think that if it was what the rest of the game was, which was just ISO ball, they were going to lose that basketball game.
Well, but that's where they wear down.
Because they figured it out. Yeah.
That's where the fatigue in the fourth quarter shows up that the Pacers have relied on. And to a certain degree, I would say the Pacers got a little bit of their own medicine here, because what they proved is it is actually hard to do 94 feet of defense and to play offense at that pace for however many quarters now we are into the finals, 28 quarters or whatever. It feels like they are the team that was behind the eight ball from a rest standpoint. The truth is they go away from Pascal Siakam completely down the stretch. They're not getting really past the free throw line, much less into the paint. I mean, the ball is just not even getting to the corners. It's not getting below the break at all. I mean, the shot chart in the fourth quarter really does tell the story for the Pacers. And that was all about, I thought, fatigue of the Pacers, and then Oklahoma City finding legs where they haven't had them in the fourth quarter. I do want to talk about J-Dub because his game is going to get overlooked a little bit because Shai had such a ridiculous fourth quarter, but they don't get a chance to come back if J-Dub doesn't have the game. He has 27 points. He was 11 of 11 from the free throw line. At times was the only guy seemingly willing to take a hard shot, which is, usually it's Shai that's having to do that. So the only other guy willing to take a tough shot was J-Dub. We talked a lot about his, I won't say his inability to step up because he's had moments, but this now is a few games in a row where you can safely say, hey, J-Dub, he was by far the second best player on the Thunder. This is what this is supposed to look like. And them playing off of each other, to me, again, all makes sense when you see how J-Dub played for the first 3.5 quarters of that game. Yeah,
he kept them in it. He kept them, like you talk about him and Caruso, just kept them within, arm's reach. And you look at his shot chart, it was all downhill. It was all aggression. And that's what the Thunder were kind of missing in game 3, was that they weren't the aggressor. And J-Dub made it a point to be aggressive the entire night. All his made shots were either on his way to the rim or right at the rim. And I think like that is a really important point. And I think that he was trying to almost prove a point where it was like nobody's making threes for the Thunder tonight. But the fact that they kind of knew that, like, this was not what they were going to rely on. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to get to the free throw line. Like you said, 11 of 11, just to make them all. It's like, that's not super characteristic of Dub. Like, he is good to miss like 2 or 3 every game, it feels like. But for him to make all his free throws, to play downhill, to play super aggressive, to have 3 of their 10 assists, which feels like a ton. He had a great game. And then defensively too. Like the guy, a lot of times I feel like we highlight his offense, and I know he did make the all defensive team and very much deserving. Like, he was very, very good tonight on switches. That's not a guy that they wanted on Halliburton. They were hunting Chet down the stretch. And I think we can talk about Chet here in a minute, but they were trying to keep J-Dub as far away from the guys with the basketball as they could. And it's because he'd done such a good job, defensively. Like, he deserves a ton of credit for this win.
You mentioned Chet, the lineup change. Isaiah Hartenstein back in the starting lineup, Kason Wallace back off the bench. I think Chet's the guy who benefited the most, obviously. Being able to roam as a rebounder really helped him. I thought he didn't have to battle as much. He could fly in. He had that big putback dunk, finished the game with 15 rebounds, 14 points. Didn't stretch the floor, but then again, none of the Thunder stretched the floor. They only hit 3 threes in the game. Again, when their big 3 has a game like this, it's tough for them to lose. And in particular, when you get 20 off the bench from Alex Caruso, who is legitimately a 6 starter. I mean, this is a team with 7 starters, I think it's safe to say. And he just comes in and it's like, how do you get Alex Caruso more minutes?
Caruso, like the Thunder aren't in this position. Like they're not even in the finals without Alex Caruso. Yeah. Let's just like make that clear. And they are not in this position to win this game without him. I mean, he had 5 steals tonight. He had the 20 points. He hit one of their 3 threes, which felt huge in the second half. 7 of 9 from the field, and just playing just outrageously aggressive basketball and like just being in the game from the jump. And like that guy he's maximizing who he is as a basketball player every second that he's on the court. I mean, it's pretty incredible what he's been able to accomplish in the way that he played tonight. But yeah, they don't come close to winning this game without him. And I thought Chet played really well on the boards. Like you mentioned, he was great on the boards, but they were hunting him. And specifically, they were trying to get him onto Tyrese Halliburton at the end of the game, and they did successfully. And I thought he held up well enough. Like he doesn't need to like block his shot every time to like be considered like a good defender. But like I think it shows that, one, the Thunder are super comfortable with switching, and they're super comfortable with him as like their lone big, which they've shown as like their silver bullet. But like I think that he did well enough as out on switches, and that helped the Thunder a ton, to deliver this game.
Hey, he's got the length and motor for it. I mean, this is one of the things with him, coming up, right? Like this is the hope that he can turn into a guy. You're not going to ever want him on an island against a 1, but he's going to be able to hang up, and he's got the timing to let a guy like Halliburton get past him and still get a block. And he had one of those in the game. I don't know. How are you feeling about the rest of the series? I asked Samson the same question. I mean, to me, it's going to go 7. I think we're already got an all-timer on our hands as far as like the quality of the basketball goes. This has been a great series, but I think we're going to get an actual all-timer. I think we're going 7. I think it's going to be close.
Yeah, it feels like it. This feels a lot. It mirrors in so many ways the series that the Thunder played against Denver.
Yeah.
And now the Thunder they've got to have a sigh of relief right now that they're going home for game 5, and it's 2 out of 3, and they have 2 out of those 3 at home. And so I think that they've got to be really glad that that's where they're at today. Yeah, I think it's going to go 7. I think Thunder win game 5. I think Pacers win game 6. I think it's back in OKC for game 7. And I honestly think it's a toss-up. I think that this Pacers team is legit. And I think that this Thunder team is the more talented team. But some of this is coaching. Rick Carlisle is not going to be outcoached. I think the players I think the Thunder outplayed the Pacers. I don't think they were outcoached tonight. Right. I think there's the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was who he was, and that's what delivered this game. And the defense from Dort and Caruso and Chet, and J-Dub helped them deliver this. But yeah, I think this is going long. I think that game 7 in OKC feels likely right now, and just even thinking about it, like, just gives me goosebumps. Like, it's going to be electric. Like the 2 crowds have been incredible.
Yeah,
for this series, the teams have been incredible, and I know the ratings aren't great, but like, man, if you just love basketball, this is a series for you.
Yeah. I mean, the ratings aren't great because, again, Lost is on Netflix right now. I don't know if everyone is like wrapped their head around this, but there's just too much stuff to watch. But anyway, this has been awesome. Andrew is finishing up like an hour and a half of podcasting, almost as long as the game when Scott Foster's refereeing. Guys, stick around after the break. Samson Folk and I, we break down what happened for the Pacers that was good and what was bad. The Indiana Pacers lost game 4, and they had the win in hand. Joining us from Indy, Samson Folk. He teams up with Caitlin Clark to live stream and talk hoops over on Basketball She Wrote. He also covers the draft because he covers the Raptors for Raptors Republic. He's just kind of stuck doing that. Samson, how's it going, man? How'd you enjoy being in Indy for the finals?
I mean, it's been a blast. There's like an aura to Indianapolis right now. Obviously, everybody talks about how much this state loves basketball. I think that's patently true. And there's kind of been a buzz around the city, especially after winning Game 3. The crowd was probably the best I've ever heard in person. And I mean, like, the basketball has been phenomenal from both teams.
Yeah.
There's been punch, counter punch. You see it not just in the games, but as it's resulted over the corresponding series. So, and all the quotes and everything reflects that too. Everybody here kind of understands that. I know everyone thought this might be a quick series, but everyone is prepared for it to be extremely long and to, like the Thunder, they changed their starting lineup coming into the series, and they changed it tonight. And they didn't win with it. They won doing something else and switching Chet out onto stuff and just having Shai go bananas in the fourth quarter. There is a bunch of punch and counter punch stuff going on here. It's been fantastic, man.
I mean, from a tactical standpoint, it's been more like a Super Bowl when you consider how many like lineups we're seeing, how many different adjustments we're seeing in game. I mean, let's focus in on Game 4. The Pacers controlled this game for the majority of it. It was really the first game that looked like they were going to have an easy win, not just a normal win like they had in Game 3, the first normal basketball game it feels like they played in a couple months. But what did you see out of them in the first 3 quarters that was working so well?
Well, honestly, starting with that double big lineup from OKC opened up a lot of offensive avenues that hadn't really been available to the Pacers. And, even with the double big, they were able to space out the Thunder. And in games past, it felt like the Thunder were able to pressure the ball without relent. And that was able to disrupt so much of what the Pacers do. And especially Tyrese Haliburton, who his screen and roll stuff wasn't as accessible because he was seeing switches. And that opened up a bunch of stuff, the pinging around the floor, the 3-point shooting. They started 4 or 5, and they still were scoring on cross matches with Pascal early. So all of that got them going, the double big lineup. And then they kind of carried the energy and the juju going forward. And then the fourth quarter, maybe they scored 17 points. Obviously, the water got turned off, but it was good for 3 quarters. They figured it out.
The sneaky thing that happened for me in the first 3 quarters was that the bench coming in for the Pacers didn't get that early second quarter run. That's where they really have won a lot of games, even in the ones where they've come back. It has been the bench kind of getting this early second quarter push, and they didn't have it in them tonight. TJ McConnell didn't have a great game scoring. Obviously, we'll talk about Mathurin because he fell apart just completely down the stretch. But they just didn't get the kind of production that they've gotten in some of these wins to back up. I mean, they were playing well with the starters, but then the bench was just getting outplayed, I thought, by OKC's second unit. Let's talk about the fourth quarter, because it's not often that we've seen the Pacers control a game going into the fourth. And it's not often we've seen the Pacers be the team that look kind of tired in the fourth quarter. I mean, you mentioned it. They lose the fourth quarter by 14 points. You only put up 17 points in the fourth quarter. It's hard to win a game. It's hard to close a game out. What happened? Was it just fatigue, or did OKC make a big change?
So towards the end of the game, basically everything flattened out into trying to search for Shai or getting Chet on a switch, and they didn't score anything. And also, you have to credit the Thunder, maybe most of all, for their ability to just play catch up and keep the ball not necessarily in front, but away from the dangerous areas of the court. Like when Tyrese is taking a 3-pointer and missing, when Miles is taking a 3-pointer and missing, when Nesmith is missing, it's just like you understand that the Pacers weren't loving the shots they were getting, and that the Thunder were pretty comfortable playing aggressive catch up. And just like,
it's an ugly shot chart, by the way.
Yes.
If you haven't seen the actual shot chart, it is disgusting.
Yeah. And I thought probably like something that the Pacers, when Caitlin and I go through the film, what we'll probably suggest is more of the flat ball screens for Pascal, the inverted stuff. I thought he was pretty sublime tonight and in the series overall, that they could go to some of that stuff to guarantee paint touches, to guarantee more rotations that aren't just keeping the ball out in front. And Pascal didn't touch the ball in the last 3 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And it did just become a case of, on one end, Shai scores 15 points over the course of the quarter, He scores 7 over 3 possessions to take the lead, and he's scoring in isolation. He can do that. Tyrese had a couple really great drives in flow, and, he beat a couple switches, but there was some stuff at the end of the game where it's like, if it's Tyrese versus a switch and Shai versus a switch, the Thunder are going to close that game out. And I think that was the real strength of it for the Thunder in that stretch, was they kept the ball in front, or in their catch-up, they kept the shot chart for the Pacers in a really nasty spot. And then Shai was awesome down the stretch. J-Dub carried for a large portion of the game. Shai was unbelievable. The shot making was on an unreal level. I heard this arena get extremely loud and then very quiet a lot of times down the fourth quarter. He was sublime.
Yeah, it seems like the Pacers, they allow the Thunder defense to at times just keep them floating out in no man's land. Miles Turner sometimes comes up to set that ball screen really high up by the logo, and then Tyrese Halliburton just can't turn the corner on any of those guys with the way that the Thunder are moving. But typically we've seen the Thunder a little worn out by the time you get to the fourth quarter, and that's when that stuff starts to happen. And you do start to see Tyrese Halliburton getting downhill, getting into floater range. I agree with you. I think more stuff for Pascal Siakam to close out this game, and we would have seen a different outcome. I mean, he was cooking in the game. Doesn't get any of those pet elbow touches that he likes when things aren't dropping. I've started calling him the cooler when the other team gets hot, right? Like, you think about it, he hits a big shot. So, looking ahead a little bit to game 5, how do they counteract what worked so well for the Thunder in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of reversion back to game 3. And because what happens a lot of the time is because they want to set Tyrese loose and they want to get him catching handoffs with momentum, and they want him dribbling and making, Dort play like ducking under screens and all that. But they probably don't look any better, or they look their best when Pascal is coming up to catch near the elbow, flashing there, and running like basically triangle concepts with him there, because Pascal is far more dangerous with a live dribble than Turner is. And while it doesn't exactly run straight pick and roll, you can run a lot of get actions, you can run a lot of dribble handoff stuff, and most importantly, maybe you can run split action with Tyrese Halliburton presenting a lot of problems as a shooter. And Pascal is perfectly capable of punishing with a live dribble if they play off of him, or it just like making reads as a passer. And he's perfectly fine as a screener too. So I think that was a missed opportunity, and probably something we'll see more of in game 5.
What do you think about more Pascal at the 5? I mean, it has not been the best Miles Turner series. He's had some incredible defensive plays, I'd say. And of course, he's hit a few shots here and there. But what do you think about seeing more Pascal and Obi Toppin as your bigs?
I think probably the thing that's most difficult for them in that regard is that Pascal, I mean, you obviously watched the game, and most people listen will have the 4 steals in the first quarter. He had 6 stocks maybe in the first half. And a lot of that was that he got to be both an at the level player going up to the screen, and also being in the shadows as like the low man. He was able to provide so much help, and he can't really do both on a possession and give you that versatility if he's not out there with one of Obi or Miles as well. So it might, if they could do it and they could find something else, but as far as like when I'm thinking about it, it might put them or pigeonhole them into one look defensively for too long. Maybe it really is just about Rick being able to, I guess, pull the dial or the lever at the right time for a good 2 or 3 minute stretch. But there might be something there, but we'll see.
It's hard. Honestly, it's been hard to tell with Rick Carlisle when it comes to who he's going to finish with between Obi and Miles Turner. I mean, there was a game where I definitely thought he was going to close with Miles Turner, and they closed with Obi Toppin, and then he did the opposite, and Miles Turner winds up being huge down the stretch. So I've pretty much learned at this point you can't second guess Rick Carlisle. Maybe one of the best coaches to ever do it. You got a prediction for the rest of the series? I feel like it's going to go 7.
If it goes 7. I'll give the Pacers that crazy variance game, and
Team of Destiny vibe stuff.
Yeah. I've been calling it the mandate of heaven to reference the ordained by God Chinese government. And when I was on Andrew's podcast, Down to Dunk, I said I thought it would be either OKC in 6 or Pacers in 7. So I got to go Pacers in 7, and that would be a hell of a series, man. Yeah.
It's already been an amazing
Yes.
finals as far as I'm concerned. The basketball's been really good. I mean, every single game has been compelling. So it's been a lot of fun. Guys, go and check him out. He does a really good job with Caitlin Cooper over at Basketball She Wrote. They do film breakdowns. They go a little bit deeper into the X's and O's. So, for all the talk that there's no good media out there educating people on the X's and O's of basketball, shout out to Samson and Caitlin for the good job that they do. So thank you for that. Thanks to Andrew Schlecht for joining me earlier. Thank you guys for listening. For everybody, this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.